Hey guys, it's Katy here, and today I'm going to show you how to make an Easter-inspired bird's nest necklace. I was inspired to make the bird's nest necklace by spring, the birds flying everywhere, and all the cute little nests that you find in nature. So here are the tools that you're going to need to make the bird's nest necklace. A round nose plier, a chain nose plier, flat nose plier, some freshwater pearls, about 5 millimeters in size, unfinished chain, jump rings, and a clasp. And you'll need 22 gauge wire. This is vintage bronze tone, but you can use whatever tone you like, gold, silver. You can oxidize your wire if you want to, but I just thought this was beautiful. So the first thing you're going to need to do is grab your wire and make sure your pearls fit on it before you start this whole project, which I've already done. So all you do is just make sure your beads fit on. So cut about 5 feet of wire, and I'm just going to roughly measure this and cut it. I love to use craft wire for this because you do use a lot of wire, so you definitely don't want to start with your sterling or gold-filled wire. You want to use something that you can kind of experiment with and use a lot of. Now that you've cut your wire, put your pearls on into the middle of the piece of wire. And if you need to, grab a tool to help you pull that through. And then bring all 3 pearls together. Kind of like this. Okay, so just kind of cluster those together in a little triangle shape. And then we're going to do a little twist. It's okay if they kind of move around at this point, so they'll become still in a moment. I like to pinch the wire just behind the pearls and then grab that with a plier and then twist. And so now they're very tight, they're not moving around and wiggling, and you have a tiny little coil here. So the next part is where you can kind of make this your own. You're going to basically kink up the wire almost all the way to the end. Just kind of zigzag it with your hands. You can crumple it up and pull it back out, but I also just like to do it with my hands or a tool even. You could take your flat nose or chain nose pliers and kind of manipulate the wire that way as well too. I love to kink up the wire here because it's going to give the nest a more organic look. Make it look realistic, like a real nest. You're gonna wanna keep the ends straight though, because at the end we're gonna kind of wrap everything together. This is an example of a very bent up wire, and this one I kept a little bit more smooth. So it's just up to you. Once you get your wire all bent up and crazy, it's time to start wrapping around the pearls. You just start by going one direction. It's very easy. You can go underneath the pearls a little bit to give it kind of a base. I kind of like to hold it with my hands while I wrap around like this and just kind of wrap it around. Starting to look like a nest. Okay, so once you have a good little nest going on, you can start to wrap everything together. And I'm gonna use these 2 tails that I kept a little bit more straight to do that. And I'll flip it over and show you the back. It looks very similar. So this is also a good time if you want to, you can kind of look at both sides and be like, okay, I like this side better, I want this to be the front, or I like this side better. So now we're just going to take these 2 tails, start weaving them in and around that nest shape. And I like to go in maybe 2 or 3 times between each purl. I'm gonna go one more time. Another thing I like to do a little bit here, which is optional, is when I turn it over, I like to kind of go across so that there is a little bit of a back to it, so it looks like the eggs are safe. So I'm just gonna do that, go across and do a few more wraps on the opposite side. So I've got those and those. And I guess now I'm gonna start with the other tail. Go here. You can do as many or as little as you like. I would at least do three main sections of wraps around your nest. And then maybe turn it over, go across again. Go around here. Maybe one more time. So now I'm going to bring both tails to one edge together. And I'm determining where I want my little loop to be for the necklace. And so I want this to be the top here. So bring both tails up to that point. And we're gonna wrap a couple more times to get them secure. And if you need to, you can always grab your chain nose or flat nose plier to help you pull those through. Okay, so now I'm ready to make my little loop up here at the top. And to do that, I'm going to coil the short tail around the big tail. Just a few times and then trim it off. So I think I may have gotten too high there. Grab your cutter, trim that off, and then tuck that little tail in so it doesn't scratch you. And then with the other tail, grab your round nose plier, grab just above the nest, bend 90 degrees away from you, and then put your plier just beyond that bend and roll it back towards you and pull that tail down and around. So now you have the start of your little loop. And make sure it is big enough that your chain will go through it. That can be a mistake. I've made that mistake a lot, and that's gonna work. So then we're going to just coil that tail around. Okay. Now you'll trim that tail off as well. Make sure it's all tucked in everywhere and not sharp. And now we're ready to assemble our chain. Another thing that you can do if you want is with your pliers, you can go back into the nest and kind of push things together, bend things out, tuck things in, manipulate it in that way if you want to. You don't want it to look too perfect. So now let's put together our chain. I'm just gonna cut about 18 inches of unfinished chain. This is a 2mm diamond cut chain. And then grab a couple of jump rings and a clasp. And with my chain nose and flat nose plier, I'm going to open up the jump rings. And if you've never opened a jump ring before, you want to make sure that you always twist it open just like that instead of pulling it apart, because then you're going to lose the shape of your circle. So open that up and then slide on your chain and then slide on your clasp and then close it back up just like you opened it. And then with the other end, you will slide on your little bird's nest and then open up the other jump ring. You can also add an extender chain or a bigger jump ring for the clasp to connect to if you want, but I'm just gonna add one little jump ring. And then slide the other half of my chain and close it back up. And now I have a really cute little bird's nest pendant. So that's it. It's so easy to make, and you can get as messy with the wraps as you want or keep it really neat. You also can do a ring if you want to do that. I used 22 gauge wire and the same pearls and a ring mandrel to do that, and it's very similar. You just kind of have to make sure that you know how to use the ring mandrel. So if you don't, then you can go back and watch the basic ring YouTube video that we have on here, and you'll kind of get a feel for it. So let's review the materials that we used to make the Easter-inspired bird's nest necklace. You have your flat nose plier, chain nose plier, cutter, round nose plier, 22 gauge wire in vintage bronze is what I used, and chain or leather and the findings to finish that off. Oh, also you'll need freshwater pearls or whatever bead you choose to use. What beads would you use in your bird's nest? Let me know in the comments below. And also, if you want any of the tools or materials that I used today, check out the description below the video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. So now that you know how to make an Easter-inspired bird's nest necklace, you can say, I made this.